Okay, you guys, my presentation is on carbidopa and levodopa. That was a drug that our group was assigned. And for absorption, it's very well absorbed from the GI tract. And after taking it orally, 40 to 70% is absorbed. For its peak plasma time, if you're taking an immediate release, then it's going to be half an hour. And if you're taking an extended release tablet, then it's going to be 2 hours. And the absorption is decreased when it's taken with food. So that's just one thing that's important to let people know when they're taking this med. And for distribution, carbidopa is widely distributed in the body tissues except for in the central nervous system. And the reason that it's paired with levodopa is because it helps prevent the breakdown of levodopa long enough for it to distribute across the blood-brain barrier. And then levodopa can be distributed into breast milk. And then distribution is determined by the rate of levodopa transport from the gut to the blood and from the blood to the brain. For metabolism, carbidopa is not very metabolized in the body because its whole job is to prevent the metabolism of levodopa in the periphery and to keep it in its precursor state so it can cross the blood-brain barrier. And then levodopa is highly metabolized in the periphery by dopamine decarboxylase and catechol-O-methyltransferase. And then levodopa is carried across the blood-brain barrier by an amino acid transporter and gets turned into dopamine inside the brain by dopa decarboxylase. And then this is a video that we found that just kind of shows that. Let's see if it pulls up. And then if you don't want to watch the video on my screen, I also have the PowerPoint link just so that you can watch it through that.
In this lecture, we are going to cover the pharmacology of drugs for Parkinson's disease. So let's get right into it. Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder that results in a progressive loss of coordination and movement. Now, the neurons responsible for coordinating movement are located in a part of the brain called striatum, which receives information from two major sources, the neocortex and a region known as the substantia nigra. The cortex relays sensory information as well as plans for future action, while the substantia nigra sends dopamine that helps to coordinate all of the inputs. Now, Parkinson's disease develops when the neurons connecting the substantia nigra to the striatum.
So yeah, that video, if you want to look more into it, it's kind of long, but it explains all about that drug. So that's a really good one. And let me just full screen this again. Okay, so moving on, I'll close this. For excretion, the primary excretion for this drug is going to be renal and done by the kidneys. And then 30% is excreted unchanged by the kidneys within 24 hours. And then carbidopa increases the amount of levodopa excreted by 6%. For pharmacodynamics, the mechanism of action, levodopa is converted to dopamine in the central nervous system where it is used as a neurotransmitter. And then carbidopa is given in conjunction with levodopa in this pair because it inhibits the enzyme decarboxylase, which I talked about earlier, that breaks down and destroys the levodopa peripherally. So that's why it can stay in the system longer. And then in addition, carbidopa helps prevent the premature conversion of levodopa to dopamine in the bloodstream, which allows more of the levodopa to cross the blood-brain barrier, which results in higher dopamine concentrations in the brain. Adverse effects of this drug is going to be nausea, vomiting, dizziness, if they have trouble sleeping, experience anorexia, lightheadedness, headache, and then or saliva, urine, and sweat. It may turn dark in color, and then it may cause worsening of tremors, hallucinations, or depression. For special considerations, there aren't usually any problems taking carbidopa or levodopa with meals, but some people have decreased absorption if taken on a stomach full of protein. So kind of how I talked about earlier, taking it with food could alter its absorption. And if taking for advanced Parkinson's, it is recommended to take it 30 to 60 minutes before meals for the best absorption. And then here are references.